If you're thinking about moving and you're thinking about practicing in Canada, if you're not happy with the situation where you live for whatever reason, for yourself, for your kids, for your spouse, please go for it.
Dr. Olga Decker has expertise in treating obesity, hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, and among other conditions.
Dr. Olga Decker is a board-certified U.S. internist. Since leaving the U.S., she has moved to Kamloops, BC, and is now fully licensed in British Columbia.
I would suggest knock on those doors. Some doors are closed, but keep pushing. If you really, really want to do something, go for it and ask for help. If I was able to do it, anybody can do it. And reach out to colleagues. I'm happy to help whomever wants to know any information. I'm personally happy to help. I've been through the process. It's not extremely difficult. There's help along the way. So there's people who do want you here, and I think it's worth it.
Welcome to the Interesting MD podcast, the show about what doctors do when we aren't seeing patients and how this can help us find balance and prevent burnout. I'm your host, Rob Beck. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Interesting MD podcast. I'm your host, Rob Beck. Before I get to our wonderful and local celebrity guest here, I just want to say really quickly, thank you so much for everybody who has been watching on YouTube and social media and who's been downloading the podcast. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for the emails. This has really kind of blown up in the last couple of weeks, and I really can't thank you enough. So please keep it coming. If you can, take a couple seconds to like and subscribe, share. It's really, really helpful for me to get found, and it would be helpful on the podcast as well. So iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, anything like that. It would be really helpful if you could just drop a quick comment and a like and a rating, if you don't mind, a 5-star rating. That would be great. Also, please, again, I'm going to try and get through all of my comments, and I'm going to try and respond as quickly as I can. If you leave comments about conspiracy theories or jailing public officials or something like that, just know nobody else is going to see them. I get notified, I remove them. If you said the same thing at my house, I'd ask you to leave. So it's my channel. Don't leave it. Just move on. Thanks a lot. All right. Now, with all of that out of the way, I would like to get, without further ado, is Dr. Olga Decker. She is Canada's newest doctor. No, she did not just finish her residency. She just moved here from the United States. Olga is going to be here to tell you all about her experience and just get to know a little bit more about her, because there are a lot of you who want to know about her experience and how to follow in her footsteps. I would love to say that since she's only been here for 4 days, that I was the first person she talked to. She's already done a radio interview with her local radio station, and she is probably overwhelmed by the attention that she's getting, but just hold on, because you're going to get more. So again, Dr. Olga Decker, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I feel a bit like celebrity. It's a great to have this kind of attention where you feel, like you said, being 4 days in this country, you feel very, very much welcome. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. When was the last time that you were a doctor and you walked in and everybody just absolutely wanted to meet you and just throw themselves at you and welcome you? And why don't you come over here and do this marketing and everything else? So
never happened before.
It's quite a different feeling. So again, welcome very much. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? Where'd you train? Where'd you grow up? Kind of what your practice was like before you moved to Canada?
So my name is Olga Decker. Again, I'm originally from Ukraine. I finished my medical school in Kiev, Ukraine. Came to the States right after finishing medical school. Did internal medicine residency initially at Ashton Clinic in New Orleans. I was there before, during, and after Hurricane Katrina. And then after Hurricane, I transferred to RMC, finished my 3rd year in Orlando, finished their internal medicine program. That was, in 2007. So I've been working mostly in hospital setting as a hospitalist for about 12 years, give or take. Thought there was, too much weekends, holidays, nights, wanted more of settled routine for me and my kids, for my family. So I switched to outpatient practice. Was with major healthcare system for about 7 years. Absolutely loved inpatient and outpatient medicine, but I hated the lack of balance, right?
Yeah.
About a year ago, in August exactly, I resigned from my full-time job. Had no more health insurance, no benefits, no 401k, none of that. But it was the end point of burnout, right? That moment when you reached when this is it, right? This is I don't want to do it anymore. So that was that point. So I resigned and I started looking for different way to live, right? So I love what I do. I absolutely love internal medicine. I love my patients. I also love my family, right? And it's not a fair choice that you have to pick between one or the other. That was the decision to so we started looking to move to Canada. I initially got licensed in Ontario, actually. So went on a couple interviews there, realized that this is not a place for me or my family. This is another rat race, sort of. And then I started looking in BC, came here for a couple interviews, got licensed, and here I am. A few months later, here we are.
Here we are. And thank you. And we are so glad to have you again. So I don't know, we talked back in March or something like that, I think, on the phone once, but did I know that we crossed over in New Orleans at that time? Did we talk about that?
We did. Yeah, you were.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I was, my wife and I were third year medical students when Katrina hit. So, okay, I was like, wait, that is familiar, but I didn't have that down. So our third Hurricane Katrina survivor on the podcast so far. Actually fourth. All right. So the burnout, that's what this whole podcast is supposed to be about. It's not just about moving to Canada, but it is about finding balance. And it's about things that a couple of weeks ago, I was talking with the burnout doc, Brett Cordis, and I kind of had the similar thing of where I just really, I mentioned that I was on that podcast that I got to a point where I was 31% likelihood of committing suicide, according to the survey that I took. And you just kind of feel hopeless. You feel trapped. And so you make really, really big changes when that happens. And I am really glad that you have decided to come and join us north of the border. So this is really wonderful. And I guess that is why you decided to leave the US. But what was going on around that time and about the practice and everything else? So a lot of people do want to know, why did you come to the US? Or why did you decide to leave the US and come to Canada?
Speaking of physician burnout, that turning point or point of no return, when that you reach that point and this is it. This is a time you have to quit, or otherwise you lose yourself, your sanity. So I remember exactly the moment, right? You're on vacation. We took kids to the beach, to Carolina Beach. You can actually bring the car there. You can drive on the beach. It's an absolute gorgeous day, perfect blue skies. The water is excellent. It's nice and warm. My kids are all in the water, swimming, splashing. My husband's there, dogs are there. And I'm in the car, I'm on my hotspot. I'm answering messages from the patients. I'm sending prescriptions. I'm reviewing lab results. And I'm looking at my family, they're having just regular, relaxing, lazy vacation day. And I'm looking at myself like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing wrong? And I know I cannot leave that computer. I cannot stop answering messages, because if I don't answer them now, then in 2 days, I'm going to have triple of them or 4 times more of those messages. So that was a point. I knew that this is it. I can't continue doing what I'm doing. So why did I leave US, right? So I'm an immigrant. I came to United States, as a lot of us coming to have a better future for myself and for my kids. And it was the case initially. We're absolutely grateful I am a US citizen, and continue to stay this way for now. But again, it was a great place to live, great place to train. But the last few years was not. I have, as I mentioned, I have 3 young kids. They're all in schools. They all know what the shooter drill. My 7-year-old comes home and she tells me that every month they have a drill. She knows how to hide, how to lay on the floor, how to be quiet, how to survive. And it's real. And my middle schooler, she has a police officer on site 24/7. It's kind of false sense of security, but they do have a police officer in the school on duty all the time. And I just don't want my kids to grow up like that, where they know with active shooter, where they know how to hide, how to say I don't want them to experience that anymore. So that was, one of the major parts. And another professionally, medically, again, I love what I do. I absolutely love my patients. I love practicing medicine, but I don't want to pick between my work and my family.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. I've heard that things have gotten worse in the last few years, the last 2 or 3 years, that things had just gotten worse. But one of the big turning points for me, yes, again, all of the violence. I was involved in I was a witness to a mass shooting in New Orleans on Mardi Gras Day. You were probably down there at some point. There was on Mardi Gras Day 2009, I believe. and there was a mass shooting. I was there with my two boys. They were 1 and 2 at the time, and I think or 2 or 3. But it was really, really terrible for me. But it was always just this fear of my kids being in a school shooting, or, us being in a mass shooting when we would go to a game or something like that. It's constant fear. It is just constant fear. It is constant anxiety. You can never relax. You can never be somewhere in public and know that you are safe. And it takes a long time to get over that. And I'm sorry that you went through that as well, but you're going to be very pleasantly surprised. So where you are, I don't know, or what kind of wildlife is out there right now. You're in Kamloops, is that right?
Yeah. So in Kamloops, BC, lots of wildlife. Yeah, there's deers on the street, crossing over, and, they're
That's the funniest part. That is the funniest part, that the deer own it. Don't even try and go fast. The deer own the streets. And so we have some that will cross the major roads here, the like really busy 4-lane roads, and that there will be 2 bucks that go and sit out in the middle of the road, and they just stop all traffic from both ways, and all the rest of the herd goes through, and it's hilarious. Do you guys have bears there? I would assume that there are bears somewhere.
Haven't seen them yet, but I assume they're actually, they sell a bear spray, I think, in one of the supermarkets. So I'm planning to have that for the colder times, but exciting.
Yeah. Right. It'll be different. So you still have wildlife to worry about, but probably not active shooters, and it may take a while. It was really kind of for me that a lot of my interactions as well with patients became very, very hostile. And I didn't like that. And I just don't think that you're going to experience that here when you start practicing. Again, you've only been here 4 days, so you have not started practicing yet. But I think that you're going to find a different feel, that there are definitely people who, I mean, it's not perfect, right? There are always differences of opinion, and everybody has access to the internet. But I think you're going to find a very different feel with accusations and everything else. I think it's going to be a different practice experience for you.
Well, I can tell you, so far from the experience, one of the selling, I guess they weren't trying to sell me this place, but one of the points that made me want to move to this place particularly and work with this particular hospital, just walking and interacting with, physicians, nurses, physiotherapists, other consultants. It's just people are content, they're not trying to put a show like, hey, visiting doctor here. No, they're there in their own environment. They actually like hanging out with each other. They have outside activities. They get together for, bike rides, for coffee, for dinners, whatever, they all actually content and happy with what they do, because they do have life outside of jobs and hospitals. I know back home, back in US, I was on staff, at probably 10 hospitals, and pretty much anywhere I walk in, people are miserable. They're healthcare providers, whatever, nurses, mid-levels, physicians. We're miserable. We walk in a doctor's lounge, everybody's complaining like, oh, this patient does this. I have to see 20 plus patients today. Man, I have to see 30 plus, it's like, you're just not happy at your work, and then you carry it on into your home and so forth. I hope it will continue to be the case here.
You are going to be busy. You will definitely be busy at the hospital. You will have your own levels of frustration. You'll have things that aren't perfect, but you are going to be around people who have balance. Again, I've never been to Kamloops before, but you are going to be around people who have balance, and you are going to be around people who enjoy each other and who get along. And it's very Canadian. Very, very stereotypically Canadian. And people do want to find balance here, that they do believe very much that you need to work very hard and that you are there for patients and that this affects their lives. But they want to be well-rounded as well. And they want to have that release. And for any doctors who are watching this, if you don't have that, start looking around. Take it from us. There's something better. Was there anything that had practiced, like as far as like a reimbursement or something like that? You just told me that things in the last couple of years just got worse. Was there something that in particular, or is it just kind of like everybody's mood? And
I think it's a combination. I think mood overall between, physicians and doctors, we just feel less and less valued. I'll speak for myself. I feel that when I left this, outpatient practice, I had close to 3,000 patients assigned to me on the panel. And when I left, I felt I was easily replaced by a nurse practitioner. They hired somebody in my place. Nobody was crying per se, but we feel we're just replaceable. You're just another number.
Yeah, you're viewed
Right.
as a cog.
Exactly. Yeah. And, when I was working, I was always requiring, see more patients. No, we cannot close your panel. You have to continue accepting new patients. But when is it enough is enough? So yeah, I think overall mood is just kind of grim at best. I hope things will change in the United States. It's again, great country. I've had a great education there, great experience. I still have lots and lots of awesome friends that I will continue to visit. So I do hope that things will improve and will look up. But in the meanwhile, I surely hope, Canada is it.
It'll be very different for you. So I think that this will be good. Again, you're going to be busy, but I say it all the time on here that the grass isn't always greener, but there's definitely grass here, and it's going to be pretty great. And how far are you from a ski hill there in Kamloops?
45 minutes.
45 minutes. Okay. And the interior of BC is known for excellent skiing. So you're going to be in pretty good hands this fall. So
yeah. We have wineries, also lots of hiking trails, lots of lakes. So I'm excited to experience all of that.
Yeah, this will be great. So I'm very, very happy for you and your family. So
thank you.
When did you really start thinking? So now that we're going to start talking to people who say, okay, yeah, I'm burned out too, and maybe I want to move to Canada. So don't shut the door behind you. So when did you start thinking about moving to Canada? Like, when was the first thought?
About September, about a year ago, 9 months to a year ago, that was kind of when I made a decision to start looking, and that kind of started from a zero. Google it is, how to find job in Canada, how to get licensed, social media was also very helpful. There's lots of physicians, like you mentioned, in the same shoes, position. They're looking for opportunities or information on how to move and where to start the process. So I started looking probably about September, October. In February, I started the process with HealthMatchBC. I think, comparing, again, I'm licensed in Ontario and I'm licensed in BC. Comparing two provinces, I think BC would be slightly maybe longer as far as getting your license here, but they're way, way more organized on helping you get the job, helping you get that interview going, get your trip set up. Once you do have an offer, get that nomination approved and get immigration in place, they literally hold your hand the whole step of the way. So I felt very much supported from, step one till the last one.
Okay. Well, we're going to go step by step through all of this. So
awesome.
Perfect. All right. So you started looking at BC, you said in February. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. At this point, you would go through HealthMatchBC, but you get to that through healthcareersbc.ca. Is that right? Or BC Health Careers?
Either way.
Yeah. Okay. I think the health minister, of course, I should have looked this up and reminded myself of this, but I think it's bchealthcareers.ca, I believe, and healthmatchbc.ca.
Yeah, you can go to healthmatchbc.org. You can create your profile, register, you need just your email password. And from there on, you can actually start looking for jobs. All you have to do is just literally register for a website. And you can search based on what region of BC you want to look, what kind of job do you want? Do you want locum? Do you want part-time? Do you want full-time? What specialty you are? And you can start searching literally the same moment, right? And you'll find actually lots and lots of positions. It's amazing how many jobs are out there.
Yeah, it is not too late to the U.S. physicians. It is not too late. There is a job for you in BC and elsewhere. So before everybody sends me comments, yes, Ontario, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, PEI, Newfoundland, Labrador, all these places, you all need doctors. Everybody has been telling me, and I've been promising, I will let everybody know. So each of these provinces will have their own websites, their own process. They have their own thing. I know that BC and Ontario have been very, very aggressive, along with Newfoundland and Labrador, and I believe Nova Scotia as well, that they have really started to make things very, very easy for doctors. So again, going through HealthMatchBC and then start looking for a job that moment. So once you found some jobs, you upload a CV or something like that, right? What all do you need? What else did you have to do for some of these jobs?
Right. So after registering with that HealthMatchBC, you get assigned a sort of consultant, or, I would say assistant consultant, whomever you want to call it. Started writing emails right away. Hey, I have this job. I want to apply right now. When can I start? Being a little bit proactive, let's say. So it took him about a week to respond. But yeah, I got in with this consultant. We got on the phone. She went over all the steps. What do I need to do first? This is your first step. Yes. Upload your CV, upload your, current US licenses, upload your, residency certificate, whatever else paperwork. They'll literally walk you step by step. Next thing, again, I picked out, okay, this is the 5 jobs or 2 jobs that I like the most. I would like to speak with their, recruiter. And then, your phone gets hot because you do get calls from recruiters, right? And some of them great, some of them, maybe a little bit slow, but I got in touch with recruiter for Interior Health, and she was wonderful. Again, she kind of gave me ideas about the sites where they're hiring doctors, what exactly they're looking for, what kind of programs they are, how many doctors, and schedule and so forth. And we narrowed down to 2 places that I wanted to visit. Then she set up a site visit. It was, again, she's pretty much proactive, very much on top of it. The site visit was set up in couple of weeks. I was not licensed at that point. I didn't have anything. I started my license. I'm sure you'll ask me about that too.
Yeah.
But right now we're just talking about HealthMatchBC and their process. So through their recruiter, they set me up with site visit. They paid for my flight, for hotel stay, for the car. Everything was paid 100% for my meals. I came here, kind of took 3-4 days vacation. It felt very informal. The interview was more, I was interviewing them than the other way around. Once I walked into hospital, I'm going to be working, I knew that this was it. The people there are just absolutely people I want to be my second family. They're pleasant to be around. At the same time, they're effective. They seem to be happy and content with what they do. So it just felt right, So after that, they made me an offer, official offer from, Interior Health. I accepted it. I signed it, and lots more paperwork started, right?
And then the real paperwork starts. Okay. Yeah. So for everybody, just get started. You find the job first, right? Like you can't get a license without a job first. Is that right at this point? Or
you can do both, actually, simultaneously, nothing stops you from doing it. So if you do want to get done, in pretty short period of time, start both. HealthMatchBC is kind of where you look up jobs and opportunities. And then the CPSBC, that's
the College of Physicians and Surgeons of British Columbia.
British Columbia, right. So whatever, CPSBC.org or .ca, you log in again, you register. Same thing, they assign you a file specialist, and that's where you upload all of your documents, right? I had to upload photos and CV, of course, and residency certificates and marriage license, pretty much everything.
Was that for your license? That was for your BC license?
Medical license, right?
Okay.
And again, I did simultaneously both things at the same time to kind of, expedite process. But you can start looking for a job without license. You can also start applying for a license without having a job, whichever way you prefer.
So that's something new to me. I did not realize that. What happened once you found the job? How did you get the work permit?
Again, this HealthMatch folks, they do walk you through the whole process. So once you get the letter of intent, you forward it to them, you upload it on that website. Then they assign you an immigration specialist, right? It's also free of charge, provided to you by HealthMatch. And that gentleman, again, we probably talked on the phone a couple of times. He told me exactly what documents do I need, right? I need to bring my passport. I need to get a FBI criminal check. Most of this done online. I honestly did not have to go do in person.
Did you have to do fingerprints?
I had to go to post office to do fingerprints. That's the only thing I've done. But everything else was online. So he tells you this is what you need for your package, right? I had to do immigration physical. It's done, I think, in probably 3 or 4 places in US. So again, they'll forward you the link, this is where you need to go and you find the closest one to you. I had to drive 3 hours to closest one to me, pay $500 out of pocket, well worth it. Again, immigration physical was pretty routine. They took my chest x-ray, took a couple blood tests, and that's it. So yeah, that was part of an immigration package. This FBI check, your immigration physical, you have to have that nomination from province.
Yeah, so that's the provincial nominee program, right?
Right, correct.
Okay, so while you're doing all of this, that's just part of, so that's a federal thing. So that's from immigration, IRCC or whatever it is, Immigration and Refugee something of Canada, IRCC. So you have the British Columbia, the province, wherever you go, the province will submit you as a provincial nominee to that program. And then they will tell the federal government, I really, really need this person. And we really, really, really want Dr. Decker. So make it happen. Is that basically it?
Yeah. And again, I did not have to do anything, right? I did not have an immigration lawyer. I didn't have an immigration consultant. They did, I hate to say they did everything for me because, but they really do support every step of the way. I felt really supported. They said, look, this is your next step. This is paperwork you need to submit. This is where you need to go next. So again, this immigration consultant that was assigned by HealthMatchBC, he told me, look, you have 2 options. You can go to the border, fly to Canada. You'll get your permit, your work visa right then at the border, or you can apply online. It's going to take you about 9 months or so to get that work permit. But if you're okay to wait, and then you can do it online. I did not want to wait. I wanted to start a job right away. I wanted to move. So I gathered all of the paperwork. Again, he looked over the file electronically make sure I have everything. I got a green light. I got a round trip ticket to closest Canadian city.
Which one was it?
Toronto.
Toronto. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you just flew into Toronto?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Closest flight from Charlotte. Presented all the paperwork to the immigration officer. Waited in their little office for, I don't know, maybe a total of an hour or so while they reviewed all the paperwork. I paid the fees, like $150 or something Canadian. Got my work visa. Went to SIN number, that's Social Security, what we call in US. Got my social number right then, right there, and turned around, went back home, same day.
Oh my God. Seriously.
It was actually the easiest process. I'm an immigrant, right? I came from Ukraine, immigrated to US over 20 years ago. That process was hard. Coming to Canada is nothing. This is fairly easy. Again, it was, I don't know. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Makes you feel welcome, huh?
It does. It honestly
Or I
does.
should have said, makes you feel welcome, eh? I still don't say but it does make you feel welcome. It makes you feel like they want you here.
Right.
And it is, I've got another person who is driving up, I think this weekend, who's just going to drive up and go to the border. And it's kind of like, this is a little bit stressful that you just show up at the border. Now, what status do you have now? Do you just have a work permit, or are you a permanent resident? What is your status now?
Right. So I have a work permit. I applied for permanent residency. They tell me it takes about 9 months or so to get it approved, but I can do pretty much anything that permanent resident does. In the meanwhile, we're waiting for that, but I can get, health insurance, and, my kids are registered in public school. So you have pretty much green light to do anything that, Canadians do.
Yep. And so your husband, your kids, everybody has status. They're fine. They're good to go.
So I was the first one to fly to get that work permit. And then in the meanwhile, the rest of the family were home. They gathered all of their documents. Again, they didn't have to do a whole lot, just do that immigration physical. My husband had to do his FBI profile online also, just like I did. And then we all flew in with a whole clan of Decker family with dogs and a cat in tow. And so we went to the border, 10 o'clock at night. They got their work permit. The kids got their study permit, and we're all good to go. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So your husband has a work permit ready to go as well.
For him, was a lot easier actually. Probably because I already had mine, so all they needed to see on the border my work permit, and that's it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So from the time that you were connected with the immigration consultant, so I assume that happened after you turned in your letter of intent, right? So you signed the contract, then they put you in touch with the immigration consultant, right?
Right. Correct.
Okay. So how long did that take until you flew to Toronto, from the time that you met with the consultant until you flew to Toronto and got your permit?
About 2 weeks.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay.
Not long at all.
All right. So Canada actually means business, people. I did not realize that was not my experience. I moved here during COVID and everything else. That was not my experience. Canada really wants you.
From the moment I actually went look back, and I was interested myself, how long did it actually take? So from the moment I registered at HealthMatchBC.org, right, from until the time I actually got licensure in BC and I got my work permit, it's been about 4 months. So the whole process, I hear it's a lot shorter right now, but this is how long it took for me personally.
Well, I mean, that was also from the time that you registered until the time that you sent in your CV, you talked with recruiters, you came up, you interviewed and everything else. But what you're saying is that for a doctor that's looking there right now, today it's kind of mid-July, July 9th. And by the holidays, somebody could be a brand new doctor, start to finish here in Canada.
Absolutely. And I imagine now the process is going to be even probably simplified. Again, they do want US trained doctors here in BC. And it's a great feeling to be wanted and needed, to be respected for all your training, for all your experience. But I think, yes, the government does help you to obtain that work permit. They help you with licensure. They simplify the route now.
I was not expecting to. Literally my jaw's on the ground. 2 weeks to get a work permit. That's unbelievable to me. Unbelievable in a great way. Unbelievable in a great way. On the licensing side of it. So you kind of did this in parallel. So I did not know that you could do this in parallel. I thought you had to do it kind of in series. So this is great news. So with CPSBC, so again, that's the College of Physicians and Surgeons of British Columbia. Each province, it's like a state, but each province in Canada manages their own, just like any kind of Department of Health or Ministry of Health, mostly departments of health, or medical commissions or whatever for each state. There's not one license that you can get that will permit you to work in all of the states in the US. There's not one that will permit you to work in all of the provinces in Canada. But they're kind of starting to try and drop some of those barriers as well. But you do need to apply if you want to work in British Columbia. You have to apply for a license at the College of Physicians and Surgeons of BC. So cpsbc.ca is where you would go. Ontario has their own. Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, all the Atlantic provinces. You need to apply there. And that's just a really, really quick Google search and they'll send you right there. Quebec is a little bit different. Quebec is always a little bit different, but it's a little bit more difficult because of the French. There is a French requirement. So if you speak French, apply to Quebec. They would love to have you. It's a beautiful place. But so you go and you start uploading all of your documents to CPSBC. And how long was that process? Because they have now, the Minister of Health was on this podcast a couple of months ago saying it was going to take 3 weeks start to finish. What was your experience and when did you start this?
I started about the same time in February. It took me 4 months to get licensed. Probably shorter times now again, but I can just speak from my experience. Lots of paperwork also, right? And on CPSBC, they also assign you an assistant or file manager or whatever you want to call it. And that person usually fairly easily available via email. I think I bugged mine so many times.
I did too, so don't worry. I think
good.
I think it's a tough group of people who are inpatient physicians that they have to deal with. So they're all very nice.
No, she's been wonderful. But so the CPSBC, then they send you, kind of redirects you to PhysiciansApply.ca, and that's where you upload all of your documents. And again, they kind of walk you step by step, what you need to upload, but they're really stickers to doing everything to the T, right? So one of the documents, I think they ask for notarized copy of my passport. And I did all of that. I got a copy of my passport, I notarized it, I sent it back to them. They said, no, it's not right. Like, what do you mean it's not right? It's notarized, everything's on it. No, notary has to be on the right bottom side, and the signature has to be on the right top side, and the date should be right exactly in the middle, and please resubmit it. So you literally have to follow the instructions up to a T, that it has to be exactly the way we want to. So I did, and they accepted that. But yes, a little bit of frustration with that part.
Yes. Okay. So that was starting in February. I will say that when the minister came on, that was at the beginning of May. So she came on, she came into that office. So I will be interested to hear from other people. There are other people that I'm talking with and hearing in the background. So I will be interested to hear how this happened. So it took me 5 months to get mine in 2021. And I found some of those same problems, but I do understand that it is supposed to be much more friendly now, and that it is supposed to be much easier. So if you want to start that process, you can sign up for PhysiciansApply.ca. You can go ahead and sign up for that, and they can show you all the documents that you need, and you can start getting that. And most of that stuff is held at the clearinghouse, where you have all of your step one, and they can show you and they can tell you where to go and get all of that. So that's PhysiciansApply.ca is a really good thing to go ahead and just get done if you're curious. I don't think it costs anything, or it doesn't cost that much to open an account. I don't think that any of this is really all that financially crazy, right? So you can go ahead and start doing that and doing all of this in parallel. So now you have a full license. Is that right?
Right. Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So as a board certified internist from the United States, you will now have a full license in British Columbia. You will have a full license, and that will allow you to practice as an internist in British Columbia. Same thing in Ontario. I know that Ontario is the same thing. Now, my understanding is that Ontario does not even want you to go to a physician's apply. From my understanding, from my conversations with the college over there very briefly a few months ago, was that it was just no. Just, we will tell you exactly what documents we want, and we're going to get this done very, very quickly. And they didn't want anything else. They were like, yeah, if we want it, we'll go find it. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Yes. Ontario seemed to be, I don't even know how to call it, maybe more progressive, right? In the way they, documents were a lot easier. They were not as, strict with like, hey, the signature is in the wrong corner. You have to resubmit it. So they still needed your residency, diploma, your medical school, whatever. Everything else was still required, but they seemed like maybe a bit more progressive than BC. But again, both of them were great. Yeah.
If you really want to kind of figure out the differences in the health systems and kind of the specialties, I talked a lot about internal medicine with Dr. Paul Hertz in an interview earlier. And so for the listener, if you're interested about kind of how it's different with internal medicine, but there used to be a very big difference here. My wife and I, when we came in, we were board certified internist, but we had only ever done stuff in the United States, of course. We were certified with the American Board of Internal Medicine. We had provisional licenses when we moved here. So we kind of had somebody that was a supervisor. It's not as onerous as I thought it was going to be. You just meet with somebody every 6 months and they say, okay, you're doing well. Okay. And they're just there to help, just make sure that you're adjusting well. It was no problem. That wasn't a big thing, but we were on provisional licenses until we actually took Canadian boards. And then that was a written exam and then an oral exam. And that was like a long process. They only give it once a year. And so that was, and it's like $4,500 or something like that. Yeah. So now we are fellows of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons. And so thanks. We're very happy about that. But no other American trained doctors are going to have to do that. In British Columbia, in Ontario, and in some of the other provinces, you will not have to go through any of that. If you are board certified in the United States, you are going to be given a full license, unrestricted, in British Columbia and also in Ontario. Now, there may be other places that are like this as well. I'm just not as familiar with it right now. So, but that is the case. You can get any job that you want as an internist, and you're going to be just fine. So no restrictions in where you go. And that's going to be true derm, psych, peds, surgery, whatever it is. You're going to be fully licensed in British Columbia now. Okay. Is there anything that we're missing here about the process or anything that we haven't talked about?
Probably some details, come up and stuff. Yeah. But again, there are people that assist to help you. That's going to want to, your listeners to know that, look, you're not in it alone, right? There are people along the way that will help you. They're there to support you and to help you along the way. Again, I felt great support from my employer, from the hospital I'll be working for. They were very proactive. Anything I needed, any paperwork, any extra letter that, was required by college, it was given to me as soon as I requested. Same with CPSBC. There's a direct phone number. You can call them anytime. Well, during their business hours, right? There was somebody very pleasant on the other end, very helpful. They were able to answer many, many questions I had. I wrote, I don't know how many emails to all those advisors, assistants.
They're very tolerant.
They are. Look, I called them, I left them voicemail. I'm the person that doesn't give up easy, if you didn't notice that. And I do knock into closed doors, right? Those doors are open. And even in Canada, I felt lots and lots of support for physicians. So that's a great feeling to have.
So now you have been in your house for 4 days. How did all of that work? What did you do? Can you just tell me a little bit about your move? Are you guys buying a house? Are you renting a house? Like, what did you do? How did your move happen?
Yeah, so we bought a house, right? After I got the job offer here in BC, a month or so after, I took the whole family. We went here on the spring break, spent about a week here, look at a few houses, kind of look at the area. We went and visited local schools. By the way, literally just walked into a school, knock on the door. The doors are open. The principal there greeted us personally. Hey, he's like, can we just kind of say hi? It's like, you guys want to tour of school? Yeah, come on in. It was amazing. I've never experienced anything like that where you don't have to sign in. The schools are always locked, in US. So again, we toured a few.
You didn't have to go through the Raptor system or whatever it is.
No, not through metal detector. None of that. Yeah, there was no police officer on duty. Just teachers, kids, everybody fairly relaxed, So yeah, we visited looked at a few houses, actually bought this house from a fellow physician from the hospital. They built a new house and they had this house for sale. So it kind of fit everything we needed. You can probably see I have boxes in the background. They're still waiting to be unpacked. But yeah, so we took a mortgage, right? We're not filthy rich, can afford to pay out of pocket. And again, local banks, they will work with you. They know about physicians coming here or other professionals coming here to work. We got our mortgage secured even before I had my work permit. Again, they had the letter of intent, the contract from a hospital, all of that helped, of course. Being a physician also helps. The banks, they see that you're capable, able to make payments. You had to put a certain amount of maybe 10% down or something like that. And again, once I had my work permit, submitted all the paperwork, that SIN number, and yeah, the transition has been fairly easy. Packed up, our 5-bedroom house and semi truck, paid huge amount of money for that.
Yes.
But it's all well worth it. We kind of thought back and forth, hey, what do you do with the cars, right? Long story short, sold all of our cars, vehicles, basically, because the tariff, coming into Canada right now is high. It just doesn't make sense to bring any cars from the US. Also, from what I heard on, social media forums, people saying, please bring as little as you can to Canada because it costs a lot to bring stuff here. So we just brought our furniture, things that we wanted to keep, but everything else we either sold, donated, It was nice to actually go through a lot of stuff, realize, look, we don't need all of that. This is all the extra that built up, accumulated over years and years. We haven't used it in God knows how long, so we don't need it. Yeah, so the truck took about, I think, 10 days or so to get here from, North Carolina. In the meanwhile, we kind of took it a little kind of a road trip. We stayed a few days in Vancouver, stayed a few days in Sun Peaks Resort, kind of took it as a little mini vacation and while we were waiting for this truck to come. And yeah, here we are still unpacking.
Still unpacking.
Yeah.
If you're anything like us, you might still be unpacking 4.5 years later. That there are boxes in the back of my garage that just like, yep.
Hey,
Well,
if you can't see them, that is okay.
that's right. So you did not bring the cars in. That was what was going to happen with us as well, except for my wife is a Canadian citizen. And so we kind of just put both the cars under her name, and there were some exceptions. And once I became a permanent resident, which I applied for at the same time. So once I became a permanent resident, then we could kind of move things underneath me. What about the house? Was there a foreign buyer's tax or anything like that you had to pay when you bought a house?
No, actually, as a nominee for the from province, they waive that tax, so you only pay the regular, whatever tax that you pay as a house buyer, but you don't have to pay that extra. And I'm sorry if you did. It kind of.
Oh, well, no. So that caused a lot of drama for us. But of course, my wife is a Canadian citizen, and then when we got time to close, they said, oh yeah, well, you're going to have to, if you're going to be a 50% owner of this house, you're going to have to pay 20% foreign buyer's tax on 50% of the house. Just straight tax. Thank you, British Columbia, for allowing me to be here. So that was just like a whole set of drama for 24 hours before we closed, because that, changed everything. But what ended up happening was that I had to be a non-owning guarantor of our house. And so I had to go and see an attorney who advised me that that was a stupid idea because my wife could totally screw me out of the 50% of the house. And how much do you trust your wife? How much do you know, it was like, okay, we're good. Yeah. But that I had to actually wait until I was a permanent resident and then wait 6 months before I could then get put on the mortgage. As a provincial nominee, you will not have to pay a 20% foreign buyer's tax if you were buying a property in British Columbia. I'm sure that that's kind of the same way that it will be for everywhere else, for all the other provinces. Again, 2 weeks and you get that. That's absolutely incredible. 2 weeks, it saves you 20% on your 20% tax on your mortgage.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Okay. Well, again, that was one of my big concerns for people who were going to be moving up here. But as a provincial nominee, which every physician who will move up here will have to get, that's just incredible. That's just incredible. So what about cars? So you sold your cars and then you're going to sell your cars in America, use American money to then buy a Canadian car, which will be very advantageous to use US dollars to buy a Canadian car.
Yeah, we bought the cars in Vancouver, actually, lots more choices, lots of dealers there. So in similar process of buying cars in US, we did not need to finance it, so it was fairly simple process. You do have to buy insurance right then on site. Which is also helpful. There's no options to shop around or call Progressive or call this company. No, there's one insurance for everyone, and this is what you get. You do have to pay, I think, a much higher insurance rate because you don't have your Canadian license yet at that point. But again, it's all just for 3 months. You get initial car insurance, and in 3 months, obviously we just got our driver's license today, Canadian one. Yeah. So I can go to, local car insurance office and they will actually refund us the money since now you're a Canadian driver and you can pay the, regular rate.
Yeah. And so that's the ICBC. There are some, the province requires that every driver that every car be insured. And so that's actually a lot cheaper rates than what we were paying in the United States. That might be more, it's very cheap in Victoria, might be a little more in Vancouver, but I'm sure that in Kamloops, it's probably not that expensive, especially now that you have your Canadian driver's license.
I know, I'm so excited.
Yeah. So it's very interesting because it is it's run by the province. And so all of the risk is pooled together. They're not trying to make money every year. I actually get rebates that if they, take in more money than they use and pay out, then everybody gets a rebate. So I've gotten a couple $100 every year as a rebate. So you can get extra insurance. So that's kind of like the bare minimum insurance. And then you can get extra insurance on top if you want to. And those are some private companies, but again, they're very reasonable rates. for the most part. And it's a pretty easy and painless process so far.
And and a funny thing, you get your license plate right then at the dealership, and you have to have both of them on the front and the back. So my husband bought the car, and he only got the back license plate. So we're just waiting for him to get pulled over to ask where he's from.
Oh no.
Yeah, but we'll fix it.
So actually in British Columbia, you don't have to carry proof of insurance, because your license plate is your proof of insurance now. You don't have to get new stickers put on it every year. You don't have to do any of that. That is your proof of insurance. So that's what it is. Okay. So I know that I have kept you forever, but what are some of the things that you're 4 days into it, and what are the things that you're still looking around and you're like, okay, I have no idea. I'm a new Canadian. I am new in Canada. What kind of crazy things do you still have questions about?
Oh, probably lots of them. And I'm sure once I start working, there'll be new things that I'll be asking my colleagues all the time. Like, hey, what about this? My kids are, they're excited about the school. At the same time, they're kind of a little apprehensive. Like, how is it going to be different from the US schools? Is it going to be much harder? Is it not? Lots and lots to learn. We're kind of trying to figure out the local area too. Again, Canadians or people around us, neighbors, just regular folks in the store, seem to be very friendly. All we hear is welcome to Kamloops, welcome to Canada. If you guys need anything, please, ask us. We'll show you. So kind of learning our ropes around, from what I figured out so far, funny that you cannot buy a beer in Canadian supermarket, right? You have to go to the liquor store.
Yes. So you have to go to the liquor store. Yeah.
And it's ridiculously expensive, and again, I don't drink beer at all. My husband does once in a while, but you do not want to drink alcohol in Canada. It's ridiculously expensive.
It is very, very expensive.
Yeah.
It is very, very expensive.
For those special occasions. Yeah.
Yeah. So you are in the interior. So you will have to figure out which of the BC wines that you really like. BC's not importing any US alcohol right now.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. So you're going to have to learn to really like British Columbia wines, or maybe some from other places. But if you really like your Napa Valley wines, you're not going to find them at the BC liquor store right now. But yeah, you'll also pay a lot more for it. So
I'll survive. Okay. I'll survive.
You'll be fine. What about this process has worked well? I mean, it sounds like there's been a lot that's worked pretty well.
Yeah. And again, none of the process is, without any little hiccups and little speed bumps, and I think what worked well is, having that support from HealthMatchBC, from CPSBC, having that person you can contact to, or a few of them, with questions or concerns, or, what did you mess up? What did you miss? What's the next step? That's usually the most frustrating part, not knowing what to do next, being licensed in states or different states, the process, how painful it is. Yes. So comparing that to BC, I feel like I've had a clear road, and having that person who helps you along the way, along all of those steps. That was a very nice cherry on top, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So what didn't work well, or what could go better? What could be better, aside from where things have to be notarized? Maybe a little more laxity on the notary and the signature and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think moving wise, this whole process of moving, and we moved quite a few, over 2,000 miles. The move is very expensive. The movers alone. Yeah. Ridiculously expensive. Yeah, it's worth it at the end. You want to be surrounded by your things. Your home is your sacred place, but it is very expensive. I wish it was less expensive. With licensing and jobs, it is still there's a lot of paperwork involved, a lot. And I mean, they had to contact my medical school to make sure that I graduated from that school over 20 years ago. My country is in the war. I don't even know if that medical school is still standing. Yeah. So, those little things, they're a little bit annoying maybe at times, could be better worked out without those bureaucratism, all those little details. But, at the end, again, I'm happy I'm here. I'm happy where I am. I think this is going to be a good good journey, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Wow. That's really, really wonderful to hear. Now, did you have to take an English proficiency exam or something like that? Did
No,
they make
no,
you do
not at
that?
all. No, they
Okay.
didn't.
Okay. So there was somebody else that is going to be moving up here in the next few weeks that did have to go and take an English proficiency exam. And
Funny.
he's, born in the US, went to
Yeah.
school at Tulane. And
That's funny.
yeah. So
Well, I remember on one of the questions they did ask, did you ever take this, English test? It's TOEFL test of English as a foreign language. And I did 20 years ago when I just first came here. I did have to take it. I just marked yes, and they never asked for a proof of it or anything like that. So maybe that's why your friend is taking it now.
Okay.
I don't know.
Fair enough. So maybe that could be something that could be a little bit more reasonable, but okay. And is your family doing okay? Everybody sounds like everybody's still kind of excited. I mean, it still feels like you're almost on vacation, right?
Yeah, a little bit, but it also feels like home. Again, kids are kind of adjusting, they're outside all the time. Like literally, I cannot get them inside because there's lots of things to do outdoors. So yeah, they are getting adjusted and excited. They got a really, really long summer break because the school in BC starts in September. So they get extra month of summer break. So we're good.
Yeah, they're going to have a really, really nice. The summers in the interior I hear are absolutely amazing, but also starting in the holidays. Do you guys ski? Do you guys know how to ski?
Okay. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So my family had to learn, except for my wife is like an expert skier, but we had to learn. But that was absolutely has been our favorite family activity. So you're going to be doing great.
Well, good. Good.
All right. So briefly, what advice would you have for somebody who is in your position or was in your position 4, 5, 6, 7 months ago, that you're kind of thinking about it and you're looking at it and what advice would you give them about maybe just taking a step, taking a chance?
I would say just do it. Look, if you're thinking about it, if you're not happy with situation where you live for whatever reason, for yourself, for your kids, for your spouse, for whomever, go for it. Yes, things will change in the United States. I know they will, but it's going to take, I don't know how many years. We don't know. And it might not be in our lifetime when things will get better. So if you're thinking about moving and you're thinking about practicing in Canada, please go for it. Start that with the first step. Look, and I would suggest, knock in those doors. Some doors are closed, but keep pushing. Look, you have to, if you really, really want to do something, go for it. And ask for help. Look, if I was able to do it, anybody can do it, right? And, reach out to colleagues. Look, I'm happy to help whomever wants to know any information. I'm personally happy to help. I've been through the process. It's not extremely difficult. There's help along the way. So there's people who do want you here. And I think it's worth it.
That's, I think, very, very well said. So I am more than happy to also, if anybody wants to reach out to me, I have been talking, somebody else put me in touch with Olga, some people that I used to work with in Nanaimo, and I'm really, really glad that you found that you're happy. But certainly I've been put in touch with some other people through friends, but I've also had several people reach out to me just through this podcast. And I want you to reach out to me, rob@interestingmd.com. Again, rob@interestingmd.com. You can you can comment, you can send me anything. But I have been emailing an internist, a dermatologist, a physician's assistant. We've been emailing back and forth. I'm actually going to have drinks with somebody next week and who's coming into town to interview. And I want to help you if this is something that you think would be good for you. Moving to Canada is probably not for everybody, but sometimes you do need a change. I've said before, I kind of crashed out of the United States just because I was so unhappy in my job, and it wasn't my job's fault. I was just absolutely burned out, and I just needed a change, and I found it, and I'm happy. My kids are happy. My kids go to a relatively cheap university, and the application process is just insanely easy. And it's it's really, really wonderful. And we're very happy that we made the move. So if you need anything, reach out to me, rob@interestingmd.com, and hope to see you here.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Canada's newest doctor, Dr. Olga Decker.
Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Interesting MD podcast. Please check out my content on YouTube at Interesting MD and follow me on TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at The Interesting MD and on X at Interesting MD. If you have comments or questions and want to get in touch with me or any of my guests, please DM me on socials or email me at rob@interestingmd.com. If you have any ideas for a show and you want to share your hobbies with me or don't know where to get started on your own project, you can email ideas@interestingmd.com. Please like and subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel to get the latest content. Much appreciation to Falter Media for editing, producing, and posting all Interesting MD content. Check them out, because if they can do this for me, imagine what they can do for you. See you next week.